For the first time in nearly a decade, Washington reports a budget surplus defying expert predictions. Does this signal the success of fiscal discipline and America First policies, or is it merely a temporary headline?
Hello, and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
Tonight, Washington has witnessed something nearly unthinkable. For the first time in almost a decade, the U.S. government has posted a budget surplus. Fox News reports a breaking story. The Treasury Department has exposed a massive budget surplus. More critically, will Washington finally honor the taxpayers? Or will this surplus merely serve as a new reason for both parties to increase spending? This raises important questions. Why do the expectations shift when Republicans are in power? After years of dire predictions from experts and repeated warnings from the previous Democratic administration about perpetual deficits, the numbers now paint a different picture. Let's do this.
Another thing that he ran the campaign on was tariffs.
Yes.
And he promised that he was going to rewire the way the economy works in hopes of it being a better place for people who work, a better place for young people, working class people. I hate the word working class, but working people who don't make as much money and want to get a purchase into the American dream. And his payoff for the month of June, the federal government ran a massive $27 billion surplus, which is, for the month of June, which is an extraordinary thing. The fact that we're running a surplus at all.
Yes.
Tariffs have had a tangible impact on the American economy this June. The federal government's $27 billion surplus is a testament to the effectiveness of these measures, contradicting experts who predicted that tariffs would hinder growth and harm working Americans. Also, this surplus demonstrates that fiscal discipline is achievable. There's a constant temptation in Washington to increase spending, expand government size, and create new programs whenever there's a surplus. We must avoid any silly expenditures that could plunge us back into deficit. It is crucial that we maintain pressure on our leaders to use this surplus judiciously, either to reduce the national debt, invest in infrastructure that directly benefits working Americans, or return some of these funds to the taxpayers. After years of chronic deficits, the government's ability to generate more revenue than its expenditures, even for just 1 month, illustrates the potential benefits of prioritizing American workers and industries over bureaucratic excess and international commitments. Despite mainstream economists and media outlets forecasting a disaster, the outcome has been quite the opposite. No economic downturn, no collapse, just a strengthened bottom line and a boost for domestic production. With this new direction, there is renewed hope that the American dream is once again attainable for those who have been sidelined by decades of ineffective policies. For too long, bipartisan globalist policies have eroded our manufacturing base and outsourced jobs, leaving communities across the Midwest and beyond in distress. With a renewed commitment to economic nationalism and the strategic use of tariffs, we are beginning to see a positive shift. The critics and globalists have been proven wrong. This development represents a victory for the backbone of our nation, the men and women working in factories, warehouses, and small businesses throughout the heartland.
Donald Trump, and this, by the way, reminds me of the situation of the border, where he was told by, all the experts and all the consultants, you're going to lose the Hispanic vote if you want to close the border, if you talk about, deporting people.
Furthermore, the administration's willingness to challenge both parties and reject the failed consensus of the past resonates with many Americans. When examining the situation at the border, it's clear that the warnings from so-called experts and consultants that a firm stance on border security would alienate Hispanic voters have not held true. The results are clear: a stronger economy, safer communities, and a renewed sense of national purpose. As the debate continues, it's evident that traditional assumptions about the Hispanic vote and border security are outdated. Critics who claim these policies would alienate Hispanic voters have been proven wrong. The real divide is not between ethnic groups, but between those who prioritize America and its citizens and those who serve the interests of global corporations and political insiders. Polls consistently show that Latino voters prefer a balanced approach that secures the border and targets criminal elements, not law-abiding families who contribute to society. The previous administration's lax approach led to chaos at the border, record levels of illegal crossings, and empowered criminal cartels. They desire economic opportunities, safe neighborhoods, and a government that prioritizes the interests of its citizens. In the last election, nearly half of Hispanic and Latino voters supported the Republican ticket, a significant increase from previous cycles. Economic opportunity, public safety, and the rule of law are values that go beyond party lines and ethnic backgrounds. The push for an America First agenda, less foreign interference, more focus on domestic prosperity, and a return to constitutional principles has garnered support in communities often overlooked by the political class.
On Friday, CNBC, Treasury posts unexpected surplus in June as tariff receipts surge. Reuters, on April 4th, Trump tariff now so fears of trade wars, recession, and a $2,300 iPhone. Thursday, last week, U.S. customs duties top $100 billion for the first time in a fiscal year.
It's incredible. And again, they predicted, Kevin, trade wars that we would be, the pariah of the economic world, that nobody would want to work with us, that we'd lose. It's not true.
With debt interest payments on the national debt reaching $84 billion in June, the temptation to spend rather than save remains high in Washington. In summary, Fox News delivers an interesting fact-based account of the Treasury's unexpected surplus, effectively challenging the narratives promoted by globalist elites and the previous administration. Fox News' coverage of the fiscal milestone highlights a significant shift in the national conversation, emphasizing the Treasury Department's announcement of a $27 billion surplus in June, largely driven by a historic increase in tariff revenue. Fox News could improve by presenting a more balanced view on fiscal restraint, reminding viewers that unchecked spending is a bipartisan issue that requires constant vigilance. But the network accurately credits the administration's readiness to challenge conventional political wisdom as a key factor in revitalizing optimism across American heartlands. The coverage could further emphasize the importance of prudent fiscal management of the surplus. The coverage is most impactful when it combines hard data with stories of American workers and industries benefiting from favorable policies. A more thorough examination of fiscal practices across both political parties and a wider array of economic perspectives would further enrich the report's depth and credibility. Addressing these dissenting views directly with the latest data would provide a more rounded debate, especially as concerns about long-term trade retaliation and the sustainability of tariff-driven revenue remain relevant. Contrary to these warnings, customs duties have surged to over $113 billion year-to-date, marking an 86% increase from the previous year, while the economy continues to show resilience. Fox News should continue to advocate for the surplus to be used to reduce the deficit, rather than funding new government programs, underscoring the need for accountability and a commitment to fiscal responsibility to avoid repeating past mistakes that led to the current debt crisis. Fox News effectively ties the surplus to broader themes of sovereignty and economic nationalism, presenting tariffs as tools of defense and prosperity, not merely conflict. The network uses clear, data-driven graphics to illustrate this economic turnaround, effectively contrasting the June surplus with the $316 billion deficit from the previous month.
Can they get that money from there? What happens with this? That's an interesting question, isn't it?
Yeah, I think a lot of it does go towards debt relief, but it also goes into the general fund. And the thing that I think is so important to remember is that for decades, conservatives have pined for a consumption-type tax. Some way of not punishing people who work, whether you're a blue-collar worker, a white-collar worker. If you are producing something, the government should not punish you for producing, for working. And that's what's so corrupt about the way federal taxes works. It punishes people for working. And Donald Trump, through innovative thinking, is the only person to come along, no help from anyone else, and say, you know what, we're going to try to do it this way. And by raising money through tariffs, it becomes a consumption tax as opposed to a tax that punishes people for working. Donald Trump loves people who work, and he wants people who work to be rewarded.
The economy has not only avoided the downturn, but has also shown that these surplus revenues directly counter those failed predictions. The challenge now is to ensure the surplus is not wasted, but used to secure the nation's financial future and restore faith in the American dream. If Washington reverts to old habits, using this windfall to fund new programs or expand bureaucracy, the gains could quickly disappear. This moment should serve as a wake-up call to both political parties. It's crucial to acknowledge that the annual deficit remains over $1 trillion, and interest payments on the debt are rising. Now with tariffs generating new revenue, over $100 billion this year, marking an 86% increase from last year, there's clear evidence that an alternative approach can be effective. Fiscal discipline and economic nationalism are more than just slogans. They are practical strategies that yield tangible results. Vigilance is necessary, as Washington often views surpluses as an opportunity for unchecked spending, regardless of the ruling party. This fundamental shift appeals to those frustrated by a system that seems to penalize success. The remainder supports the general functions of government. Despite predictions of economic disaster from some economists and media outlets, the actual numbers tell a different story. A significant portion goes toward debt relief, addressing the national debt that has surged under both political parties for decades. For households, the impact of tariffs is mixed. For years, traditional conservatives have advocated for a consumption-based tax system, which incentivizes productivity and rewards work rather than penalizing it with high-income taxes. This reality demands careful management and transparency from policymakers. Fiscal restraint must be the priority, particularly as families nationwide face higher prices due to tariffs, a side effect that cannot be overlooked. Tariffs act as an indirect form of this system by taxing imported goods instead of the wages of hard-working Americans, thereby shifting the tax burden toward consumption. When examining where tariff revenues are allocated, it's vital to understand their impact on everyday Americans. The administration's decision to adopt an America First strategy has shown positive results, at least in the short term. And there you have it. After years of reckless spending and empty promises from both parties, the Treasury has finally reported a massive surplus. To truly gauge who cares about this country, observe how they handle your money. Now, the real test for Washington is whether it can maintain this discipline or if it will revert to the harmful habits that created fiscal challenges in the first place. Contrary to what the previous Democratic administration claimed, they told us achieving such a surplus was impossible and that managing decline was the best we could hope for. Now, this isn't a miracle. It's a result of prioritizing America, cutting waste, and judiciously using our tax dollars. This achievement stems from President Trump and the current administration's commitment to putting our people, our workers, and our future first, steering clear of globalist agendas and endless wars. Be sure to comment below, give a like, and subscribe. This is just the beginning. Stay tuned for the next one.